This is Optimal Living Daily, episode 425, an excerpt from the book The Well Life, How to Use Structure, Sweetness, and Space to Create Balance, Happiness, and Peace by Briana and Dr. Borten, and I'm Justin Malik. Happy Wednesday and welcome to Optimal Living Daily, a podcast with the crazy vision of bringing hundreds of blogs to audio for free, and sometimes even books like yesterday and today. As for blogs, I currently read from a bunch of different personal development and minimalism blogs, like The Minimalists, Mark and Angel, Derek Sivers, Steve Pavlina, Zen Habits, and many, many more. As for books, whoever I come across I think will help you optimize your life. And before we get to the book excerpt, I want to thank Jason Hartman of the Creating Wealth podcast for helping to keep this show going. He's helping the Optimal Living Daily Network, which helps you because otherwise there wouldn't be a podcast to listen to. So to complete the circle and show some love for him, check out his podcast, the Creating Wealth podcast with Jason Hartman. You can find more at oldpodcast.com/wealth, and I'll tell you a little bit more about him at the end of the show. And today's authors are Briana and Dr. Borten, founders of the Dragontree. They've made it their mission to create a more peaceful world by helping people reestablish a sense of inner peace and balance. You can find more about them at thedragontree.com, and their book, The Well Life, is up for grabs. I'll let you know how you have a chance to win it after I read an excerpt from it. So with that, let's hear the excerpt from the book as we optimize your life. An excerpt from the book The Well Life, How to Use Structure, Sweetness, and Space to Create Balance, Happiness, and Peace by Briana and Dr. Borten. Free yourself, releasing emotional baggage. It's time to release the past. In order to maintain a strong foundation that supports your progress toward a well life, there are all sorts of things you can do to fortify yourself, including the practices we covered in the previous chapter. But all the fortification in the world can be thwarted by the ways in which you simultaneously undermine that foundation. You can only get so far before unresolved conflicts, withheld forgiveness, and limiting beliefs from your past impede your progress. Therefore, you've got to get really real about your baggage in order to achieve the well life. Are you carrying around nagging, broken agreements, dysfunctional relationships, grudges, or limiting stories? It can be an uncomfortable process to clean this clutter up, but chances are you're already living with a certain burden of discomfort because of not having dealt with or released these issues. Sadly, our magic wands aren't powerful enough to turn your childhood into one long happy visit to Disneyland, and we don't want to lead you to believe that you're going to fix your relationship with your past by the time you're done hearing this section. What we aim to do is make you aware of how you may be limited and to teach you how to start the process of freeing yourself. Structure, sweetness, and space. We'll guide you through exercises to help you uncover, clean up, and release thoughts and experiences that are sabotaging you from below the radar. Happily, this is work that yields immediate relief and greater access to space and sweetness. If that's not incentive enough, consider this. You simply can't move forward cleanly and lightly, or fully express your gifts, or experience life in an entirely unfettered way if you aren't willing to release the hooks that are keeping you bound to the past. The rest of this chapter will show you the structure to help you do just that. What's wrong with keeping the past in the past? Now, before you think, oh boy, this is going to be heavy, we want to tell you that this doesn't have to be a heavy experience. In fact, it's an opportunity to feel lighter. It's just that between the heaviness and the lightness, there's often something that one of our former teachers calls a veil of discomfort. The discomfort is only a veil because it's really quite insubstantial. As soon as we become willing to experience it, we readily pass through it. And on the other side is lightness and opportunity. Let's talk about how these loose ends from your past can undermine you. One thing that may happen when you prepare to go for something big, whether it be a new relationship, a career change, or a cross-country move, is that your mind quickly runs through all your baggage, unresolved issues, past traumas, mistakes, losses, and tells you this is a bad idea. Rather than hating your mind for this, it's important to remember that you program this mind. You started out as a baby with a clean mental slate, and little by little, you train your mind to look out for things that might threaten your survival or happiness. That's how your mind is built to work. It just happens that most minds are overly eager to do this job, especially if it means that your mind gets to monopolize your attention. The more intense the bad experiences of your past, the deeper the groove they cut in your mental record. The mind looks for anything in your present that even remotely resembles these past experiences so that it can steer you clear from repeating them. It produces warning thoughts and initiates intense emotions to grab your attention. So what can you do? Thank your mind for its efforts to protect you, but inform it that it's working from outdated beliefs and overly generalized data. There's no purpose in blaming yourself for how your mind functions. You've done your best with resources that were available to you in each moment. But if you want the freedom to show up to each moment without being restrained by your past, it's imperative to recognize that your baggage impedes this. Limiting beliefs and the echoes of past emotions are an intrusion on your space and the peace that lies within. Figure out what's holding you back. The key to identifying past incidents that get priority cleanup status is that when you bring them to mind and then check in with your body, you don't feel altogether light and clean. Instead, you might feel heavy, tight, agitated, or constricted. Or a negative emotion might come up, such as guilt, fear, shame, anger, regret, sadness, or grief. It's possible that something you did that was objectively bad, like stealing the Statue of Liberty and burying it in your backyard, doesn't actually provoke an especially strong physical or emotional response when you focus on it. In such cases, it's important to remember that the objective sin rating of an event is less significant than how much of a hook it has in you. On the other hand, you might have accidentally thrown away your child's first finger painting and experience a tremendous feeling of guilt when you think about it. This would be something worth addressing. Think of this process like cleaning your living space. When your house is filthy, there are piles of documents, dishes, laundry, and areas needing repair. It can feel so daunting you don't know where to begin. You don't even want to begin. But once you start, and then you have one room that's clutter-free, it feels more manageable. Eventually, the whole house is pretty well in order, and then it's fairly easy to stay on top of it. In the same way, as you clean up your life, you'll find it both easier and more appealing to continue to clean and to nip any new messes in the bud so they don't impede your future. You just listened to an excerpt from the book The Well Life, How to Use Structure, Sweetness, and Space to Create Balance, Happiness, and Peace by Briana and Dr. Borten. And that chapter goes on to present a table called My Baggage List, and it goes through each column and how to fill it all out. You can find more about them and their book at thedragontree.com. And before I share with you how you can have a chance to win this book, please join me in thanking Jason Hartman of the Creating Wealth podcast for helping all of us. He's helping me to keep this podcast going, which I like to think is helping you too. Show him some love back. Check out the Creating Wealth podcast. He has some really exciting techniques and fresh new opportunities to create wealth and build passive income. He's a self-made multimillionaire and has had amazing guests on his show like Steve Forbes, Jenny Craig, Robert Kiyosaki of the Rich Dad series, and many more. Find out all about him and his show by visiting oldpodcast.com/wealth. If you visit him and check out his show, it's a nice help to him, but it's also a big help for this show since he's giving us support. So it'd be awesome if you could do that. Again, just visit oldpodcast.com/wealth. And now today's book will be given away. This is going to a random person on my mailing list. Yesterday there was another book giveaway, but that required a little something from you. There's actually still time to be in that raffle too, by the way. Check out yesterday's episode for info on that. But for today's book, you just need to be part of my weekly newsletter to be entered. Just come by oldpodcast.com and enter your email address to join for free. And that's it for today. Have a great day. Thank you for being a subscriber and regular listener. And I'll see you in tomorrow's show where your optimal life awaits.
Hey, this is Dan from the Optimal Finance Daily podcast, which is a lot like this show, except more focused on personal finance. Justin handpicks the best posts he can find from blogs and authors like Ramit Sethi, Mr. Money Mustache, and more, and I read them to you 5 days a week. So if you enjoy this podcast, come on over and subscribe to Optimal Finance Daily too. And together, we'll optimize your financial life.
You've been listening to Optimal Living Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode and head to oldpodcast.com. That's OLDpodcast.com for a free gift as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.